Welcome into Sports Talk with Theo Dorsey. South Georgia, let's talk sports. And this is a little break from the norm. As all football season, we will be pulling back the curtain on head football coaches across the area. And our very first guest is Zach Grage of the Thomasville Bulldogs. He's in his second year in the City of Roses and his first trip into the WALB studios. So welcome on in, Zach.
Appreciate you, Theo.
Of course, glad we have you. And of course, your journey didn't start right here in Thomasville or down there in Thomasville. In fact, you're a native of Evansville, Indiana. You attended the University of Evansville.
Correct.
And you had a good time out there. You studied mathematics, right?
Yes, sir.
Played some baseball.
We did, yep.
Didn't play any football. Before we talk a little bit about that, though, about you switching over from baseball to football, I want to go over what you did and how you kind of got introduced to Georgia, the Peach State. So let's start off with your coaching resume and your first job that you started with out here in Georgia. And it was Richmond Hill High School from 2006 to 2009. You started off as a QB, receiver, D-back, and linebackers coach from 06 to 08. Promoted to offensive coordinator in 09. You brought the spread offense out there, which did some damage. And you also worked with baseball. Now, you were a baseball coach.
Right.
You played baseball. You played a little football in high school. What's that like, balancing the both? How do they intersect?
When I started at Richmond Hill, actually, I coached all three. I was football, basketball, baseball, and that was when I was just by myself. Now, when I met my wife, we started having children, I kind of worked my way up the football ladder with Coach Probst when we went down to Moultrie, and she finally said, look, it's me or the other. You had to pick one. So I had to go through, and I said, okay, we had our second son, Daniel, and I went the football route. Our goal was always to keep her at home. It was much more feasible that way to do it, coaching football over baseball. I still miss baseball, I promise. I don't miss all the hours, but I miss some of the games, some of the patterns, and trying to just beat other guys, calling pitches and things like that. But football is where it's at for me now. Football is where it's at.
Like you said, you played. You were a pitcher at Evansville.
Right.
And let me go back to what you did next. You talked a little bit about Rush Probst. Well, you started as a pitching coach. You got over to Colquitt County High School. Am I correct? You got there as a pitching coach as well?
I did. That's how I was hired as a pitching coach.
Hired as a pitching coach. You were a pitching coach from 2009 to 2013. You had 2 region championships, a Final Four appearance, and you had your first winning season since 2005. What was that experience like down in Moultrie on the baseball side of things?
I'll tell you what, I worked for Tony Kirkland, and my opinion is probably, if not the best, one of the top 3 high school baseball coaches in Georgia. He's phenomenal. And he gave me the opportunity to work with the pitchers, and we had to turn around a program that was really struggling, a lot similar to Thomasville with the football. So we came in, we had the first winning season since 05, and then that second year we were able to ride. And again, it's all about Jimmy's and Joe's. We just kind of make sure they get on the bus. But we had a young man named Cole Pitts that just got done with his career at Georgia Tech, and rode him to a Final Four appearance against Parkview, and had some more success. And like I said, after those 4 years, when Baby 2 came along, we had to hang it up.
Baby number 2, that was the catalyst for you, and baby number 2 translated into your time where you finally said, you know what, I'll fully take over, go to the football side. Now, the whole time, as we see here, when you got to Colquitt County, you were working with football.
Correct.
Freshman offensive coordinator in 09. Varsity, you moved up the very next year as a quarterbacks coach. And, we all know how pitchers and quarterbacks, that kind of translates with a lot of guys doing both. And then you go up to varsity through 2015 as a quarterbacks coach, strength and conditioning coordinator. What was it like on the football side of things early on before you kind of got promoted up again? We'll talk about that in a sec.
It was one of those that Coach Probst said, look, we have one spot left for you. You're already brought in as a baseball coach. I had a position teaching. So I just kind of helped him out on the 9th grade level. And then the right people left at the right time. As a matter of fact, Robert Kraft was the quarterbacks coach in 09. He took the head job at North Florida Christian in Tallahassee. And I was able to move up into his spot. And it just kind of worked out that the people left and I was there. And, very, very lucky, very appreciative to Coach Probst for sure, and just moved my way up that way.
Okay, you moved your way up, and now we'll look at what happened there. You got promoted to co-offensive coordinator in 2014, and as we all know down in South Georgia, that was a huge year for Colquitt County, a 15-0 season, the 6A state champs, which was previously the highest class in the state of Georgia. And you guys had a state record for the highest class at 687 points. Does that record still stand?
It was actually broken the next year by the 2015 Colquitt County.
Okay. So, but look, you laid the foundations there.
Right.
And then also you sent, in your time there, over 60 players to college on scholarships. And I know when I previously spoke with you, you obviously you care a lot about the wins.
Right.
You care a lot about, what it means to, make a program better. But How big is that scholarship thing for you?
Well, I think a lot of it, you talk about making a program better. A program is the entire package. You start looking at the young men that we're able to work with every single day, and you want to make them into a great football player, of course, and help out just the wins and losses on the field. But being able to look down, we talked about them. Yesterday we had an off week this week, so we had a lot more time in our character development program that we do every week, and we said, look, our goal is for you to come back to us in 5 years and be able to give us a hug, or yell at us or whatever, however we treated you in high school, but come back and say, look what I'm doing now. You're wearing your military uniform, you're wearing your professional dress, whatever you're wearing to work that day, and say, look, thank you for what you did for me, and that's the goal. They may not understand it now, but hopefully down the road they will.
Right, they will. And then you weren't done. You didn't go from Clarkwood to Thomasville. You had a short stop at Gilmer High School. That was your first head coaching job. Second Division I scholarship in Gilmer history. You helped deliver that. You guys didn't finish the season so well, 4-6. But what was that first, experience getting your feet wet as a head coach and the head of a program?
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You look back on it right now, I spent 10 months. When people say a year, I say, well, I was up there 10 months. I got back to South Georgia as quick as I could. But understanding all the different things that actually go into running a program. When you get to go to football practice, that's the easy part. That's the fun part. It's all the stuff, transportation, nutrition, trying to get good coaches around you and learn how to delegate things to them. But if I didn't go to Gilmer for those 10 months, I would have never known all the things that actually go into it, because you had to do it all on your own up there. I had 2 guys that came with me that were great help. Now I was in Thomasville, and I was able to bring in 6 guys of my own and keep 2 they were already on staff. And now I understand, okay, it's more important about who you can surround yourself with. And that's, again, I learned that up in North Georgia.
You learned that up there, and that's a message to the fans out there that are like yelling at the coaches, getting mad at him on game day. This guy puts in a lot of work. So cut him some slack every now and then, right?
A little bit. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, obviously it comes with the territory. Now you're at Thomasville High School. Now you're the head coach going into your second year in 2017, doing pretty well right now. But I want to talk specifically about the rivalries that come with Thomasville.
Awesome.
Your second year here, you start the season off, 2 straight big-time rivalries. Let's talk a little bit about Cairo versus Thomasville, and as we look at that nice, shiny trophy. Where's that trophy at right now?
Right now, it's actually in the transition up to our trophy case at the front of the school.
Boom. Getting it in the trophy case. That's a syrup catcher, and you earned that because you beat Cairo in the first week of the season, and it was a pretty good experience for you guys. You guys handled it very well, dominated in that game like you have most of the season so far. What is it? I mean, you guys have 2 huge rivalries down there in Thomasville, and I might be missing one. Is there any other ones?
Brooks is pretty big.
Brooks is big too?
Pretty big.
Well, what is that Cairo rivalry specifically like with the kind of hard-nosed defense and the team that they present?
I'll tell you what, Cairo, I guess if you're rating them, it depends on where you're at in the community, but most people see this Thomas County Central as our biggest rival. Cairo sees us as their biggest rival. You got Bainbridge mixed in there, but I'll tell you what, we look at some things from last year. That was my very first game as a Thomasville head football coach, was going to Cairo and seeing that crowd and feeling the energy. And then you go right next to Thomas County Central the next week. My goodness, I mean, it's one of those that, you may have friends, all these kids grow up together, all the parents grow up together, they went to school together, and they kind of went their separate ways after they went to school. You have everybody that, oh, coach, he's a Cairo kid, coach is a Central kid, and those people, they don't talk. And for that week, and you might, it's a joke, we laugh it up, but I'm serious. There's knockdown dragouts over these rivalries.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a real question for me. I know how these trophies, when they're getting passed around, because that's not a trophy that you just keep. You have to give it back if you lose. What is that transition period like? Did the other coach have to hand it to you? What is that process like?
It was kind of funny because I didn't know what to expect, and I got a phone call that next Monday morning. Our athletic directors had set up the meeting between myself and one of the coaches on Cairo, and we met at a gas station halfway between Thomasville and Cairo, put it in the truck, and we went back, and I had it sitting in the front office there for the first couple of days, then brought it down so the kids could see it. We got it the engraving done on it for 2017, and that'll go back up in the front office for everybody to see.
That's big. I know that was a proud moment.
If we were looking for a big pomp and circumstance as far as the transition of the trophy, it wasn't. It was just me at the little Jiffy store and get it back to Thomasville.
There you go. Well, you got the job done. That's all that matters.
Right.
Also, a place you got the job done was at Thomas County Central, another huge rivalry. This is y'all's biggest rivalry. The Rose City Rumble is what they like to call it, or at least that's what we've been calling it this year. I don't know if that name's going to stick. I think that name's going to stick.
I like it.
Rose City Rumble, I like it as well. You guys beat up on Thomas County Central in the Jackets Nest this year by a lot of points. Coach, what is that like? I know you talked about kids growing up together. I'm sure they grow up together if they're both, everybody in Thomasville. What is that like between the two teams?
These kids grow up playing together. I mean, they're all the same Y leagues, and they all know the coaches and their families and everything. But what was more important about this game to me, yes, it was a great game, but these are the ones that you talk about for the rest of your life. So our seniors this year are going to be able to go out. It was the 700th win in program history. You know, 2-0 for the first time since 1989, which blew my mind at a place like Thomasville. Beating Cairo and Central both in the same year since 1991. So being able to go around, I'm proud of the kids, be able to go through the rest of their lives. They can stick their chest out a little bit more, and they know, you know, when they see Dre Sullivan, when they see a couple of other seniors over on the Central, and they see them in the street, or they see them, you know, in town, they're able to say, hey, you know, I got you. And they can be 50 years old, and they'll still talk about this game, I promise.
Yeah, and I've heard that a lot. When I go down to Thomasville, and even when I spoke to you and Bill Shaver about the game, you guys kind of told me there's a lot of stories about that. Now, what's one of the craziest or one of the story that stood out the most to you about one of those games in the past?
I know, it was actually, I believe, the state championship game in the early 90s, and there's a play that I talked to Mac Loudermilk a couple of years ago. He's up at Carrollton now, and they had taken a picture down the goal line because everybody says Thomasville crossed the goal line on one of their last offensive snaps, and Central say that they stopped them.
Yeah, of course.
So that's one that's going to go down forever, and those are guys that, you know, 50, 60 years old that are still come back. Coach, this is where it's at.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. We'll look at one other thing. You talked about those accomplishments you guys had. I want to take a quick look at that before we go to a break. Yeah, first time beating Cairo and TCC since '91. First 2-0 start since '89. You tied up the series with Thomas County Central, back at 25 apiece. You guys have held it, the winning side of that, up until last year, right? When they took over?
Yes.
So tied it back up at 25, and maybe next year you can tip it in your favor, and 700 wins all time. So that's pretty big for the Thomasville football team. Before we go to break, I wanted to ask you one quick question about the city of Thomasville and the city of Roses. What are some of your favorite places? I know it's a big food spot. What are your favorite places to eat?
Jonah's is always at the top of the list. You know, you got Liam's. My favorite personally is Soho. I think it's a newer place downtown. You got Sass. I mean, you can't go wrong. Everybody talks about Thomasville. The first thing they talk about is the restaurants.
Right. Eating good, eating well. Well, you know what? We're going to go to break, but before we go to break, I have to let you know I'm going to beat up on Coach in trivia right after the break, so you're not going to want to miss that. We know he's good at winning football games. We don't know if he's good at trivia yet. Stick around, and we'll see. Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you stuck around because you are in for a treat. Before we do trivia, our very own Mike Fussell went out to Thomasville's football practice, and he got an in-depth look at why Coach Greige does some of the things he does and sticks around in football.
That's right, Theo. I got an early morning look at what motivates Coach Greige all before the sun even came up.
The lights are on in Thomasville. Music is the backdrop to play calls and grunts punctuated by whistles. But it's not Friday night. In fact, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. As most of the Rose City is waking up, the Bulldogs are already sweating.
Hey, offense.
And head coach Zach Grage says everyone is laced up before the sun is even up for different reasons.
We ask our kids all the time about what's your why? Why do you wake up at 5:30 in the morning and get out here at 6? Why do you keep coming to practice every day when you can go be with some of your buddies that just, you know, walk across the street when they're done with school?
For him, though, it's all about family. Grage says his own father reinforced the importance of it throughout his life.
So that's been really important, my driving force. Those days when you wake up, you might not feel the best. And you come out on Friday, you might not play the best. But you understand, you look around, you look at our community, you look at everything that's going on in our stands and with our kids.
And not only does Greige have a special place in his heart for his wife and his children, but every Bulldog that suits up also gets his support.
So, you know, I do it for my family, but then my family's extended. I tell my players, I've got 93 sons. 3 of them are my blood, and the other 90 are the ones that I adopted.
And that's a relationship Greige has learned to build, leading a number of teams, including a 6-year gig in Colquitt County under Coach Rush Probst.
Yes, it's important to have success on the field, there's no doubt, but you know, being able to watch those kids sign college scholarships, and that's another thing Coach Probst taught us.
A lesson Greige says can be just as fulfilling as a successful Friday night.
You know, it's important to be successful in the season, but then your real success, your Super Bowl comes December, January, February, getting kids signed and getting kids off of school.
But until then, he'll be focused on getting them ready. And as the sun comes back up, making sure his large adopted family gets to school on time.
Well, we just learned a lot about the Thomasville Bulldogs. Coach Greige also told us a little bit about his family. He's got a wife and several children. His wife's actually from South Georgia, which is one of the reasons he says he decided to come to the area. Greige also has a couple of pets. We'll learn a little bit more about them and some more about Coach himself in just a little bit, so make sure that you stick around for that. But first, we are at the trivia portion of our show right now. We like to call it Theo versus everyone because that's exactly what happens. Theo takes on everyone we're here. So speaking of, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, this is how it works. It's pretty simple. You guys will be answering trivia questions. It's the first person to buzz in there will win a football, and the person with the most footballs at the end of the game wins.
It's very good.
Are you guys ready?
Let's go.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to start off with the this or that questions. And the way this works is there's two choices. You just have to pick the first one. You have to be the first one to buzz in. So to start off, we'll go with Georgia's mascot, Uga, is of course a bulldog. But which breed is it? Is it an English bulldog or a French bulldog?
English.
Yes. I'll do a good start.
Early?
Yeah,
You got it. You get football. You got it.
You get the gratification and put it in yourself.
That's good. That's good. You got it.
All right, we'll go right to the next question there. There have been some great quarterbacks, and they've set records, but which one has the most career fumbles? Is it Warren Moon or Brett Favre?
Warren Moon.
No. It was
Brett Favre.
It was Brett Favre. Brett Favre had 166 career
That
fumbles.
makes sense, 'cause
You
Warren
mean when
Moon
you
was
play it for a long time.
Yeah, of course.
And,
Of course.
all right, we're going to go on to another question here. Which city will host the NCAA Division I FBS National Championship game? Is it Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium or New Orleans, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome?
It's Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
That's correct.
Let's get it.
There, we'll get you back in there.
All right, now it's tied up right now. We're going to go into a different type of question here. These are our rapid fire questions. You're not going to have a this or that choice. You guys just have to buzz in and have the answer.
Yes, sir.
And you're nervous right now, right? I can
Not
see.
at all. Not at all.
Okay,
That's
okay.
right where we want you.
This is a level playing field. I don't see any nerves yet, especially from over here.
I'm always asking for nerves. I'm just trying to get them.
All
My
right.
head.
All right, this one's a little quirky here. Fantasy football is huge, and this is true or false. True or false, the following three sports also have a fantasy following: fishing, darts, and surfing.
True.
Yes.
Wow.
He's got it.
That's good. That was good.
All right, give yourself another ball
Yes, sir.
there.
I'm surprised.
He edges the lead there, but yeah, fantasy fishing, darts, and surfing. All right, and now going to the same type of question. Everyone knows how long a football field is, but how wide is a football field?
48 feet. Yard.
No.
That's a court. That's a court. You got it. You got it.
That's incorrect.
That's okay.
53 1/3.
Yes,
yards.
that's correct. That's correct.
I said feet. 48 yards. That's close.
Not really. All right, we're going on to a little more. These questions are going to get a little more difficult as we go along here, but it looks like you need to catch up, Theo. So we'll see if you can spring into action here.
We'll get it. We'll get it.
All right. Who is the only college football player to win the Heisman Trophy twice?
Archie Griffin.
Yes, sir.
Goodness.
Ohio State's Archie Griffin.
He's fast.
He's
so
fast.
fast.
He's good. He's almost full there.
I know. I
A
know.
couple.
You need some of my
borrow some of your footballs.
Wow.
there.
Okay.
All right. And right now, this is kind of our halftime here. We're looking here. You've got some room to grow, and we're going to find out if you can kind of get back into the game here right after the break.
Okay.
Welcome back to Theo versus Everyone, our trivia portion of the show. Not completely competitive right now, but we'll see if you can come back, and we'll get started right away. So, to start, Thomasville plays in Division 2A. Which team is last season's state champions in that? You got it first.
Benedictine.
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
you
I almost
got
said Hateville Charter. I don't know why. Benedictine. I remember that.
Slowly mounting a comeback. All right, now 2 laces run down the spine of an NFL football. How many cross stitches does it have?
7.
Incorrect. Yes. All right, we'll keep rolling.
That's 8.
That's 8.
8.
You were one off.
The 7. Okay.
Yeah,
we got
think
it,
how you put your fingers on there.
Yeah.
And then our last question, it's a video question. And a lot of presidents were big football fans, but one was also a star athlete. And after turning down several pro offers, including one from the Green Bay Packers, which president decided to take a coaching job and go to law school instead and eventually went to the White House?
FDR.
No.
I guess I got to give a guess, huh?
If you want.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Nope, it was Gerald Ford.
Gerald Ford?
Green Bay Packers even looked at him.
Wow.
But right now, we have a different winner here.
Oh,
Not
man.
the White House, but the winner of our trivia portion here. So congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
You've dethroned Theo here, who won last week.
I did.
So it's good.
Long season.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
right.
It
I'll
is.
have more. I'll have a chance to come back. I'm 1-1. I'm 1-1. We'll be okay.
All right, and while we're still having fun right now, there's a couple of fun facts we want to tell you about Coach Greige. You might not know about him, but his favorite food is steak. He's got 2 dogs. Belle's a German Shepherd Husky mix, and Boss is a black lab. And Greige has also taught math. He currently teaches weightlifting.
All right. That's some good stuff right there. Mathematics?
Yes,
you
sir.
studied that, right?
That was my major, yep.
I can do the math right here.
All right, I don't want to. All right, well, we'll be right back. Of course, I lost. I'm sorry about that. I'll get them next week. We'll be right back with some more with Zach Grage. Welcome back to Sports Talk with Theo Dorsey. And without further ado, we'll keep it going with Coach Greige because he's been fun. He beat me, but I'll be a good sport.
Thank you.
And talk about some good new things going on at Thomasville. Veterans Memorial Stadium got an upgrade, a $690,000 upgrade in turf. Can you tell me about what kind of went down there? We see him putting it down. You know, how does that feel? How does that change up the way you guys prepare?
The best part about it as a kid is just take a little more pride in it, and appreciative of the community and school board for making it happen. But not like tonight is a perfect example. We had a middle school game. It's pouring rain. We're able to still go out and play and be able to get out on the field, not worry about injuries. We have the padding underneath there, so it's top of the line, Cadillac. Best money can buy.
The best the money can buy, and we're glad you guys had that. It makes it easier on us, too, so you don't have to have more rain delays and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
We get out there and cover the games. Well, thank you so much, Coach Greige, for joining us on Sports Talk. We'll hopefully maybe have you again in the future, maybe next season or something.
Love to.
Good luck with the Bulldogs this year, and we'll see you guys next week on Sports Talk with Theo Dorsey.
Thank you.